Good afternoon, Music Reach students. We are here today with Associate Dean Moore of the Frost School of Music, and today we're going to be talking about marketing as a young musician. So, Dr. Moore, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Emma. I appreciate this opportunity, and a hello to all the Music Reach students. My name is Stephen Moore. I'm a conductor. I grew up playing trumpet, love music, and spent a lot of time as an administrator here at the Frost School of Music.
What advice would you give to a young musician who is looking to become a performer?
Good. You want to have as high of achievement level as possible in music. Basically, in the future, people who are going to be successful are going to have deep knowledge in one subject area and then broad knowledge about other areas. But that deep knowledge in one subject area will need to be music for you. Music's a big topic, and the way we do it, of course, at the Frost School of Music is that we ensure that students have a very high achievement level, at least on one instrument or voice. So you want to try to make sure that you're not just, so-so in 4 or 5 different areas, but really good at one area, and then maybe okay at some other areas.
What would you say are the 3 most important things to keep in mind when you begin marketing yourself as a young musician?
Okay, well, some general principles. When you're marketing something, you want to have something that people want more than their time and money. That's what it all comes down to, no matter what you're marketing. It's an exchange of value. They want what you have, so if you want to really make a lot of money or be happy, of course, and you want to serve people, right? So that it's really the same. The more people you serve, usually the happier you are. The more people you serve, the more money you make. Let me give you an example of that, if you don't mind. So who makes more money? We always think, well, teachers, they don't make enough money, which is true. I agree, having been a teacher and having been parents of teachers. And why do professional athletes make so much money? Isn't it more important to be a teacher than it is, develop a young life? Okay, so let's look at that for a second. Let's take the Miami Heat. All right, the Miami Heat, they have an average attendance of about 630,000 people. Their TV audience, I think, is maybe 60,000 families. So let's just add all that up to 730,000. I'm sure we're underestimating that. And the average salary of the Miami Heat team players is about $12.5 million. Some make 18 million, some don't make even $1 million. So if you divide that by the number of people they serve, they're only getting about $17 per person that they serve. Now a teacher is going to get about $300 per person they serve. So they're actually getting paid more per person that they serve. But the problem, of course, with teachers is they're usually only, it's not a problem, it's a good thing, but they're serving, say, 5 classes of 30 people, that's 150 people. So when you get paid $300 a student, that's the average salary in Miami-Dade County is $45,000. So that's just an example of the more you serve. But let's say that teacher goes and develops a website and they teach something online, or they had developed their talents and they serve a lot of people, they create an album, millions of people download it, then they're going to make more money because they have served more people. Other thing I would say is that you want to develop an asset. So let's talk about that a minute. This is a big concept and it takes a while. And of course, when you're really young, not quite as easy. It's something you're working toward, okay? But if I lay out the big concept here, maybe people will understand. So if you're just an employee and you're getting paid for your time, when you stop doing that, you stop getting paid. But if you have an asset, then you continue to be paid even when you stop doing that. So let me give you an example. I had a friend who owned a music store, and he showed me the building. This is in Lexington, Kentucky. You've probably been to this music store. It was very near Lafayette High School, which they were very smart to locate there because there was a lot of musicians in that area, right? So he owned this whole building, and he ran this music store, and so the music store paid the mortgage on that building over the years. So yes, he was selling instruments. Yes, he was selling private lessons. But over time, that music store, he owned the building. And so it had an insurance company and everything there. So he developed an asset, which is that building. So when he stopped, when he retired, he still had an asset that kept going. Similarly, if he has more, the more people that are working for you, the more you make. So this is more of an advanced concept to work toward. This is not for a ninth grader probably, but there's some really smart ninth graders out there, so who knows what they may do with this. You know, if you have more people working for you, you'll make more money. So this, in this example of the music store, there were many people teaching private lessons there, and that's great. It was really good for them. They were young people. They were helping people. It was a good thing for them. But when they stop, they don't make any more money. At any one time, he's making all the money that he's using for renting out that spaces, along with selling instruments, along with repairing instruments, etc. So he had developed an asset. Similarly, let's take Taylor Swift. Okay, when she recorded her first album, and that took off. I don't even know what that one was. What was that one? I don't know. But let's just say, you know, recently she did one, Welcome to New York was one of the songs on it, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. That album is an asset because it continues to sell whether or not she does anything. Whereas her live concerts are more like employment. Every time she does a live concert, yeah, she makes money. It's a good thing. Nothing wrong with it, but she's developed an asset with the music that she owns the copyright to. And you, if you read in the papers, you know, the news, you'll find out that that's been a big issue for her, is who owns the rights to those, and she's been fighting to get those back because that's her asset. So very important that she develops a good asset there. So I hope that illustrates the overall concept. Now, most people are employees when they're learning things, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're an employee, you know, I taught lessons. I worked for a lot of places that I learned something from, which helped me then to develop an asset. Like I worked for the Spirit of Atlanta when I was going to college. I learned how to I really understood how to put on a show. I really understood drill design. And then I developed Advantage Showware drill design software, which became an asset for me, which generated funds for a couple of decades.
What are some of the key differences to keep in mind when looking at musician marketing as opposed to any other form of marketing?
Well, there's a lot of overlap, honestly. In terms of the difference, I think you just have to understand why people want your product. So the good thing about music is music will always be with us. It's been here since the beginning of the modern human mind. You know, it preceded language in the development of humans. It preceded language in the archaeological record. Even for babies, you know, babies sing and they dance before they speak, right? So music will always be with us. Now, how is it delivered? That changes. You know, I think I bought my first iPad maybe 9, 10 years ago, and you know, streaming music is less than a decade old, and pretty soon it'll change to something else. So what you want to do in terms of music and its delivery is you really have to think about what are the trends, how to get ahead of the trends, and scanning for trends to stay with them. Now, there's a lot of different ways to market music. If you're just talking performers, then what you're doing is you have to understand the demographic. So you want to research your demographic. So you mentioned before we began, for instance, playing in churches. I used to do that too. I know a lot of singers who make very good livings, as choir directors. Most churches have orchestras now. And a lot of them has been a big shift over the decades from traditional services to contemporary services. I was in one in Lexington, Kentucky recently. One of my students was there, and he was a great trumpet player. He has a master's degree in classical trumpet from Indiana University and University of Kentucky and all that. But I noticed he was picking up a guitar, and he was leading the contemporary-ish service at that church. So he's adjusted, and he understands that demographic. So they have, brought in a different type of people to the contemporary service, and they need a different kind of music. You have to understand. If you go to a nursing home, it's a different demographic. You want to understand that if I go to a stadium and I'm creating a marching band show for the 75,000 people that are there, I need to understand that demographic and who I am performing toward. So that's my big advice in terms of music, because music it's not food, but it is necessary.
How can a young musician format their product to sell?
Well, I don't want to limit anybody in what they're thinking of. Right now, there's a huge revolution that's been going on. I see it now, even just on developing a YouTube channel, because while that's been around and YouTube channels have been around, recently it's been an explosion, similar to podcasts. Older technology, but an explosion of what's happening on podcasts. So I don't want to limit anybody. I would say they should do what they're interested in, and they should scan for trends, see what's going on. Now, the most important thing, remember when I started with this, is to say you want to have a product that somebody wants more than their time or money. So that product needs to be good. So as you're young, you're going to spend more time on developing a really high quality product and mentoring with people that you respect, that you have found successful, not to copy them, but to learn from them, and then to evolve beyond that, so that it makes your own mark. So I think you're looking for something, you're beginning to develop your brand, and you don't want to think about going to school and then going to work. You want to think about moving into what you're doing as you're in school, and then it's more like a transition into the workforce rather than a stopping point and, oh, now I'm going to go find a job.
And finally, do you mind to share a few success stories with us today?
I was thinking of some at the Frost School of Music first. So some recent graduates who are doing extremely well. One of them is Emma McCoy, Cohen, jazz pianist. Veronica Swift, very interesting student, extremely talented, as all of our students are. And I sincerely mean that all of our students are talented. Veronica is making a big name in jazz voice, but interestingly, she had a whole alter ego as a heavy metal band, kind of goth persona. And so she has a couple brands that she was developing from the get-go. And I noticed that when she came into school at the Frost School of Music, she was already developing that brand and working it with the people around her. That's very smart, because the people around you will be successful, and you will develop a network of relationships that you can call upon. And that's very important in all aspects of life, but especially music. Ashley Pizzati, she's doing very well as a singer. Sawyer Garrity, she is a current student. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that, but she she's got a cause, and she's developing an international reputation because of her cause. Jasmine Ortiz, she's already developing a full-time career. I think she's in LA right now, working and going to school remotely. So she's one to look out for. Let me give you a couple other examples. Sometimes you do it around a cause, around a charity, around an event. I know John DeVersa, one of our professors here at jazz, had a tremendous album that won 3 Grammys, and it was around immigration, Dreamers. And his latest one is the centennial anniversary of the women's suffrage movement. So that's also a very nice one. And then just in general, there's some really great chamber groups that I just find their marketing fantastic. One that I always love is a really great group called Roomful of Teeth. It's memorable, and they're great singers, composers, and it's highly classical. Or how about Genghis Barbie? Horn players should know them, right? And they're a quartet of fantastic hornists. Check out what they're doing. And we have our own quintet here, Chaos Wind Quintet. And then, of course, Valerie Coleman, she had a tremendously powerfully successful Imani Winds. It was a woodwind quintet that was It's still going on. She's just she formed it. She was the leader of it, but now she's with us and she's developing her composition and teaching. So she's not in that group. But those are a few examples of some of the smaller groups and individuals who have really marketed themselves very well.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us today, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Emma. And I just want to say, there's if I might say, music is so broad. There's many ways to serve people. You can do it through performance. You can do it through education. You can do it through music engineering or composition or therapy. Many, many ways. So what you're looking for is something that you are passionate about, and then you'll be happy and you'll serve a lot of people.